Well, hi there, food friends. It's Kevin.
Hi, food friends. Behind the camera, it's me, your old pal Ralph.
And welcome to Cavalcade of Food. So, you know what? We're having some friends coming over for dinner. And when was it? Maybe a few days ago, Ralph was at a restaurant with some other friends having lunch. And one thing that we always say about food is food can be transformative, and food can also be transportive.
In a nostalgic sense?
Yes, food can take you to another time, another place. And for anybody who grew up in Detroit in a certain time period,
Or even Southeast Michigan in general?
Yes, at Southeast Michigan in general, you probably have a very fond memory of a department store, which was Detroit's department store, J.L. Hudson's. And when Ralph was at lunch a few days ago, he was at a restaurant, and what was it that they had?
They called it a J.L. Hudson's style Maurice salad.
Maurice salad.
Which is one of the things they were famous for.
It absolutely was. And so we thought, wouldn't it be fun the next time we have company to do a meal that sort of is reminiscent of the things that they had at J.L. Hudson's in their wonderful restaurants.
Especially our friends that are coming over for lunch or dinner tonight that appreciate the history of Detroit and Michigan.
And our longtime Detroiters. And
yep.
Unfortunately, J.L. Hudson's is long gone, but again, we can go back to Hudson's with our wonderful meal. They had a lot of great signature dishes in their restaurant. They had pot pie, chicken pot pie. Of course, the Maurice salad was very famous.
And the Saunders ice cream puff, what do they call it? Cream puff.
Cream puff.
Sundays, things like that.
Popovers. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make one of their famous soups, which was called Canadian cheese soup. Okay, this is the J.L. Hudson's recipe. I started with a half a stick of butter. I'm adding to the half a stick of butter probably a quarter cup of very finely minced onions, a half a cup of finely minced celery, and a half a cup of finely minced carrot. Okay, so we're going to start with our half stick of butter melted, onions, carrots, and celery. And Hudson's always called this Canadian cheese soup. I don't know why. I'm sure there's a story behind it. If anybody knows, please share it with us. And you know what? Maybe it was just a kind of a salute to our friends in Canada.
Right across the Detroit River.
From where J.L. Hudson's was.
Minutes away.
Practically not even a mile away, down Woodward Avenue and hop over the river and you would have been in Ontario, Canada. But I loved this Canadian cheese soup at Hudson's, and it was something that I would get very often when I would go there with Mom or friends. And so we're going to have Canadian cheese soup. We're going to do this in two parts because here's the menu tonight. Canadian cheese soup, Maurice salad with popovers. Okay, so I know we've done a popover episode, Ralph, but we're going to do our Canadian cheese soup. Then later on, we'll get our Maurice salad put together.
Kevin, somebody might wonder, what kind of a department store has a restaurant in it?
Well, I think depending on where you are, most large department stores, especially big central downtown department
in the old days,
would have a restaurant. Hudson's actually had 3 restaurants. They had a dining room, they had a tea room, and then they had a cafeteria. So Hudson's at one point really, it was a huge store. Over 2 million square feet the building was. That's how big it was. It was one of the largest department stores in the entire country. I think only Macy's maybe in New York was bigger. And so it was a staple. They had, they made food there, and that's one of the things that many people still remember, because you know what? Hudson's had, maybe you couldn't always afford to buy a lot of things at Hudson's, but you know what? You probably could afford to eat there and have lunch there.
And that, of course, ties into your memories of the past, and that's why so many people really remember these specific dishes like the Maurice salad
Yeah.
that was made a certain way, which we'll do in another episode, and this cheese soup.
And this cheese soup. And so, I think Ralph and I, we often reminisce about going downtown on the bus and going to Hudson's on Woodward Avenue. And I know that's something that I did a lot with my mom. My mom actually worked at another department store in Detroit. It was called Crowley Milner and Company. And she worked there in the 40s and 50s. And they also had a restaurant at Crowley's. But we're all about jail Hudson's today for all you Detroiters and for all you people who fondly remember Hudson's. And we're making Hudson's Canadian cheese soup. Oh, now, so these, can you get a shot of the veg in here? So this is our onions, celery, and carrots softening in a half a stick of butter, okay? And you want to, it takes about 10 minutes and the vegetables are just soft, okay? So what we're going to do now, here's what I've got, Ralph. I've got, this is a tablespoon of cornstarch. This is 1/8 of a teaspoon of baking soda. Okay. 1/8 of a teaspoon of paprika. Okay. To that, I've got 1/2 cup of just regular all-purpose flour. So I'm gonna try to. I should have put this on a bigger plate.
Oh my goodness!
So, but we're gonna just kind of mix these things.
Sense an accident.
Well, we're gonna. we're just gonna do it as best we can. Yeah, I didn't think about this part. Okay.
Fork it over.
Yeah. So we're gonna combine these things. All right. Now we're gonna add it to here. Okay. So we're gonna add our cornstarch and baking powder,
flour and paprika
to our.
I like this big red pot. Is that called a Dutch oven?
Dutch oven. Mm-hmm. I like to use it for a lot of things, including
it's multi-purpose
soups. All right, let's get this mixed in here, and now you can kind of really. Can you smell that flour?
Yes.
Yeah. We want that to cook off a little bit, so we're gonna kind of get this together.
It's getting clumpy.
Yeah, it will. It'll break up though. All right, but that's because what has happened is the flour has absorbed the butter. So
this is not a roux, is it?
It is actually. We are, because we had the fat, right, which was the butter, and we're adding the flour to it. So yes, but I want to cook this just so that some of that flour cooks out a little bit.
I think I see you also have some interesting other ingredients over here.
Yes, and that's actually what's going in next. So we've got.
Is that chicken broth?
We do. We have 3 cups of chicken broth and 3 cups of whole milk. So that's our liquid. Okay. And you might also see that little bottle.
I was going to say, you've been drinking old fashions, or is that a secret ingredient?
Yeah, I could use one about now, but that is actually a secret ingredient that goes in kind of at the end.
Angostura aromatic bitters.
Yeah, just a couple dashes. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I got my chicken broth. I'm going to put that in first. This is 3 cups, by the way.
Yep.
Of chicken stock. I'm sorry, I said broth. I meant stock. Okay.
Well, what's the difference?
Well, broth usually is lighter. It's doesn't quite have as deep a flavor.
And that's what this is. This is stock, not broth.
Yeah, this is stock.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to whisk this to kind of get the flour. Let's bring our heat up a little bit. We want to get our flour dissolved and broken up.
Now, you always say that the flour needs to be cooked because nobody wants to bite into a clump of dried raw
flour. Yes.
So was it cooking when
Yeah.
you added the butter, or when you added it to the butter?
Yeah, it just takes about a minute in the pan, just to kind of cooks off that raw flour taste. All right.
Okay.
So that's good. Now I'm going to add the milk. The milk should be room temperature at least. You can even have it warm.
Heat it, because you don't want to bring down your temperatures
too
too
much.
much.
Do a bring down, do we?
No bring downs here.
So, all right. Now I took my heat up. I'm gonna keep stirring. We're going to get this up to a warmer temperature.
A boil?
Yeah. Just a simmer, really.
All right. So it sounds like it's important to keep whisking it. Is that true? Or
Well,
stirring
yeah,
it?
as it kind of comes up to a boil again, I'm just trying to get all that incorporated, and we'll be right back.
Okay, we're taking a food trip down memory lane.
Yep.
With a Canadian cheese soup a la J.L. Hudson's.
J.L. Hudson's Canadian cheese soup, and here we are. This is just coming up to a simmer now, so this is with the milk and the chicken stock. Added. Okay, I've been kind of whisking it around because again, I want to make sure that any of that flour that had settled on the bottom of the pot
It's dissolved.
Yeah, and kind of gets in here.
You know, this big pot you're using is red and white, so it matches your kitchen, red and white cottage kitchen very well, too, with your cool old stove.
Yes, and as a matter of fact, a couple people said, hey, since we are back at the cottage for another season, when are you going to do the stove exchange that we always do? It's coming. I'm in the process of getting the 1955 Crosley will go into semi-retirement, and I'm getting its replacement ready.
Oh joy! Can hardly wait. Super stove swap.
And so yeah, we'll get
that.
the muscle. So we'll have that coming up
down the road. Yep.
Yeah, in the next couple of weeks for sure. Okay, so now it's at a simmering point. I'm going to take the heat down. All right.
Love that push button stove.
And
it's a jukebox.
I'm going to put the lid on, okay? And we're going to let it simmer covered, maybe about 10 minutes. I just want to make sure that those vegetables get nice and tender.
Are they supposed to dissolve basically in there, or are they
well,
supposed to
the onions
be
kind
crunchy?
of do. There's two things that you could do. If you wanted a perfectly smooth soup,
Cream soup, you can puree it.
you could put it after this point before you put the cheese in. At this point, what you could do is you could put it in a blender and blend it up. But if you noticed, I really very finely diced those things. I remember the cheese soup at Hudson's had little pieces of carrot you could see, little pieces of celery.
Okay, so that's how we want to do
small.
it. All right, good.
So, but if you wanted to have a completely smooth cheese soup, you could do that.
Okay.
Anyways, we're going to let this cook another 10 minutes covered, then we'll come back. This is 2 pounds, by the way.
Wow.
2 pounds
That's a lot.
of sharp grated cheddar. So that's the key.
I could dive right into that. All right, well, we'll go back to listening to one of our 25-cent treasures we picked up.
I love this.
Johnny Hamlin Quintet, Polka Dots and Moonbeams. Great cover, too.
Let this simmer 10 minutes covered. I stirred it a few times because you want to make sure that, especially when you're cooking something with milk, you don't want it to burn.
Sure.
And you want to just keep scraping the bottom of this pot here. So what I'm going to do now, Ralph, is we're going
The fun part.
to move from here to here.
You're going to put like this brick of,
Take
this
it
ton
off
of cheese in there.
And
And this is all cheddar
it's all cheddar. It's all cheddar.
from the Mennonite store?
Yes, as a matter of fact. And, you know, people have different thoughts about cheese, whether, you know, you should shred it yourself or buy it already shredded. Well,
You shredded it, didn't you?
I shredded some of it. I bought, this is 2 pounds. I had a pound that was shredded, and then I had a big block.
So you're
of
putting
cheese.
in a bit at a time.
Yeah, a bit at a time, and the heat
is
from
doing its thing.
from the base, right,
Mhm.
is actually melting the cheese.
So
You're doing this off the heat.
is it important that you've taken it off the stove?
Yes.
Or could you have just turned the
I could have just turned it down, but you know it's easier to work here at the table.
Gotcha.
So I'm gonna get the rest of this cheese.
So
in
you
here.
just put it all in there.
Okay,
Got it.
all in, and
Smelling good.
now look at the color. See,
Yeah.
this is just that is
It's bringing back memories, eh?
totally what I remember. And you can, you know, things that go well with cheese soup. Of course, you could. You garnish this with a little fresh parsley on the top, which is how Hudson's used to do it. You could garnish it with a little crumpled bacon. How good would that be? Look at this beautiful. Look at this,
I
Ralph.
picture some kind of like crusty bread or croutons or something too in there.
Look at this. Now, okay. I got to get a spoon because we got a taste for seasoning.
Yeah, because I noticed you haven't really put any salt in yet,
I
right?
have not. Now, 'cause, there's salt in the cheese.
Sure.
But here's the thing. We need a couple dashes of our bitters. Whoop. 1, 2. Okay. There we go. So, let's work those in.
Mm-hmm.
Then, I know we want to put in some pepper. I'm going to put in some nice
Fresh ground
fresh
black pepper.
ground. Okay. And like I said, the cheese is going to give it some saltiness, but we are going to have to season it. Look at that.
Is it good?
That is great.
So
I'm
now-
going to put in,
All that salt?
yeah, maybe a teaspoon of salt.
No, I'm just kidding. I meant the.
No, I'm not putting all that in. No. I'm going to put in a teaspoon of salt and give it another taste. Salt and pepper is very much, in a lot of our recipes, we say to taste.
Mm-hmm.
It's no secret that Ralph likes things a little saltier than I like things. I like things more peppery. Right there.
But you did
Oh
teach
my
me
gosh.
that you can always add salt. You can't take it out. So
That's right. So
if it's not salty enough for me, I'll just put a sprinkle or not.
okay.
My blood pressure will thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is our J.L. Hudson's Canadian cheese soup. Should I ladle a little in a bowl?
Well, I guess if we're gonna, maybe we could show later us doing the whole dinner or luncheon, and then show it with the parsley on it or whatever if you're gonna garnish it.
I want to put some in here just so folks can really see a couple things. One, you can see the little bits of celery and carrot, and of course it's perfectly soft. And
how come you keep eating and I don't get any? Just kidding. No,
it's
that's
so
okay.
creamy.
But
You don't taste the bitters, but
is it the right consistency?
here,
Oh yeah. Wow.
isn't that good?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I like how the vegetables just kind of melt
they
in your
just
mouth.
do. They do. They're very soft.
Yeah, it's got a nice. Is it just what kind of cheddar cheese was it? Because it's kind of a. To me, it tastes almost mild. It's not
Well,
overly.
I got
overly
sharp
strong.
cheddar cheese.
Oh, is it? Okay.
But
the milk and everything kind of creams it up.
yeah,
and milds it out.
kind of tones down the sharpness, but it should have a little bit of a bite to it.
Mm-hmm. And it does. It has just the right.
So,
I think I was going to eat that whole bowl
I think
before.
I am. And,
Before we're done.
well, the reason I'm loving that because this is really taking me back to days of being in that wonderful, amazing store at 1206 Woodward Avenue, up on
13th floor.
was it the 13th floor was the restaurant? I can't remember now.
I'm sure
But
some of
it's
our
just a
local
beautiful
listeners
thing.
or viewers
Yeah.
will remember.
But it's so good, and it's going to be great with our Maurice salad, which we're going to start later.
And have on a separate episode.
Yeah, we're going to do that separately.
And
And why don't we get the soup
popovers
done
and-
first? We're going to do our popovers, and all of us old Detroiters are going to be taking a little trip
Down
down
memory
memory
lane.
lane
Food
with a
trip.
luncheon at J.L. Hudson's. Anyways, as always, had an awesome time putting this soup together.
Did
Hope
you?
you had a great
I did
Hope
too.
you had a great time being with us.
I
And you
did.
know what? We'll see you next time right
Right
here
here on
on
Cavalcade of Food.
Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
y'all.
All right. Here's our wonderful J.L. Hudson's Canadian cheese soup. Ralph, I'm going to do your dish.
Oh, lucky me. Ooh, look at that.
Isn't that great?
And then, I think
Now,
you-
at Hudson's,
yeah, so I was
they
going to say,
garnished with a little parsley on the top, like so.
that's good.
And there you go. And, of course, we have J.L. Hudson's popovers.
Oh,
Gotta have those.
those smell so good too. All right. Well,
So-
we'll come back after we are able to get into the salad as well. The Maurice salad, another part of our episodes that we're doing
We're eating Jail Hudson style today.
here on Cavalcade of Food.